All right, so we're all gonna screw up from time to time. We're gonna fall off the wagon, we're gonna have too many carbs, and it's gonna knock us out of ketosis. But other times, we want to intentionally have some cheat meals. And I wanna talk about exactly what that means. I like to think of cheat meals more so as refeed meals rather than cheat meals, okay? There's two different philosophies that I have, and really two different scenarios. The first is a refeed, meaning an ultimate carbohydrate refeed. For some crazy reason, every once in a while, your body will just start to crave carbs like crazy. And you will feel like you are not functioning well in ketosis like you do 99% of the time. It happens. It happens to me. It happened to me just last week. I felt absolutely like I was plummeting and my body was craving carbs. This is when you strategically structure a refeed, where you have a small amount of carbohydrates, usually in the range of 150 to 175 grams of carbohydrates. It's going to knock you out of ketosis, but it's going to restore your muscle glycogen levels enough to where you feel strong in the gym again. And this can oftentimes last you for about 2 months. You know, I've seen people that have had carb refeeds and end up going back into ketosis and feel great for 6, 8, 10 weeks before they ever crave a carb again. The fact is, you have to listen to your body. It doesn't mean every slight chance you crave a carb, you go for it. But it's also okay, especially if you're training hard, to have some carbohydrates now and then, but just know that you need to get yourself back into ketosis as quickly as possible to continue to have the positive cellular effects on the body. Because what happens is ketosis has a lot of long-term positive effects on the cell. And if you knock yourself out of ketosis now and then, it doesn't really impact that. But if you're doing it frequently, like a cheat meal every week, then it's making it so that that cell isn't getting the full benefit of being in ketosis. It's not getting that full benefit. So you need to make sure that you're limiting how often you do it. Okay, now I recommend having some clean forms of carbohydrates. Structure your refeeds so they're not junk. Structure them with good, clean sources. We're talking about fruit. We're talking about maybe some rice if you can handle grains. We're talking about quinoa. We're talking about sweet potatoes, root vegetables, red potatoes, parsnips, things like that. Totally control it, and you'll find that you get back into ketosis really quick when you keep the carbs clean. Now, the other situation is a flat-out cheat meal. Now, when I say cheat meal, there's two different variations. There's a cheat meal where we just go to town and we just have some cake because we can't handle it anymore. And there's a cheat meal where it's structured, where you actually build a cheat meal surrounding your ketogenic protocol, meaning you still don't have carbohydrates, but maybe you have a heck of a lot more calories than you would normally have. A good example would be making a ketogenic pizza, using a ketogenic style crust with like almond flour. In fact, the recipe's in the recipe guide if you bought that. Using almond meal as the flour base, using cheese, using other kind of components to make a crust. Those kinds of things are perfect examples of ketogenic friendly cheat meals, where you're still getting an excess in calories that's helping your body's leptin levels, but you're not necessarily knocking yourself out of ketosis. So what I have to ask you is, when you're craving a cheat meal, are you sincerely feeling weak to the point where you feel like you need to re-energize with carbs? Or are you just craving more food? Because if you're craving more food, a ketogenic friendly cheat meal is the way to go. But if you truly sincerely feel like your lifts are plummeting in the gym, you feel like you don't have energy, and you feel like you're losing cognition, that's when it's time to refeed on some carbs and implement some of the tools I talked about in other videos to get yourself back into ketosis as fast as possible. So by now you have the framework of what you need to get into ketosis, to stay in ketosis, and to remain there for a long period of time. Now, obviously, in my other programs, I'm going to talk about lifestyle patterns, things that you can use over the long term, and training protocols. But for now, you've got the basic goods. In the next video, I'm going to tell you what to expect going forward.